Lucky Land Casino, asking people, what's the weirdest place you've gotten lucky?
Lucky? In line at the deli, I guess?
Aha, in my dentist's office. More than once, actually.
Do I have to say?
Yes, you do.
In the car before my kids' PTA meeting.
Really?
Yes.
Excuse me, what's the weirdest place you've gotten lucky?
I never win and tell.
Well, there you have it. You can get lucky anywhere, playing at LuckyLandSlots.com. Play for free right now. Are you feeling lucky? No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18 plus. Terms and conditions apply. See website for details.
With the Lucky Land Slots, you can get lucky just about anywhere.
This is your captain speaking. We've got clear runway and the weather's fine, but we're just going to circle up here a while and get lucky. No, nothing like that. It's just these cash prizes add up quick. So I suggest you sit back, keep your tray table upright, and start getting lucky.
Play for free at LuckyLandSlots.com. Are you feeling lucky? No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18 plus terms and conditions apply. See website for details.
Welcome to Back to the Frame Rate, part of the Western Media Podcast Network. Back to the Frame Rate, where we watch and discuss films on VOD and streaming platforms for your entertainment. I'm your host, Nathan Schur, and with me are Ellie Escobar, Sam Cole, and Brianna Butterworth.
What's happening?
Hello.
What is happening?
It's a pleasure to be here.
What's happening is we saw just a classic this week.
How about that?
We do have to apologize for missing last week, but there were some unforeseen circumstances. But hey, we're back and better than ever, because what we're reviewing this week, oh boy, it's a honey this week. We are going to be discussing the 1977 film Exorcist II, The Heretic. This is a sequel to William Friedkin's 1973 horror classic, The Exorcist, and I cannot wait for this discussion. I've been waiting for this for 2 weeks now. But before we do, I will just read a quick synopsis of the film. Owing to his experience with exorcisms, Father Lamont, played by Richard Burton, is chosen by his superiors to investigate the death of Father Marin, Max von Sydow, who died during the exorcism of young Reagan McNeil, played by Linda Blair. Lamont finds Reagan under psychiatric care of Dr. Tuscan, played by Louise Fletcher. By hypnotizing the girl, he is able to learn that Marin previously exorcised the same demon from a boy in Africa. Hoping for answers, Lamont travels to Africa in search of the youth. And here is some of the trailer for Exorcist II, The Heretic.
4 years ago, The Exorcist shocked the world. Now, the struggle between good and evil goes on. Exorcist II, The Heretic.
Wow, the trailer in and of itself is just priceless.
The music, though, us women.
Beautiful. Sam, do you have any movie facts you can share with us tonight?
Absolutely. So this film, The Exorcist II, The Heretic, came out in 1977. Of note, actually only 2 weeks after Star Wars. Came out in early June. Directed by John Boorman, who directed one of my favorite films, Deliverance, and he also directed another excellent movie called The Emerald Forest, which came out in 85. I really liked it. Anyway, this movie was written by William Goodhart, edited by Tom Priestley. And one thing about the filming here was that it was very, there's a lot of problems during production. Boorman actually contracted a case of San Joaquin Valley fever, which is a respiratory fungal infection of all things, which canceled production for over a month. And, you know, anyone that knows about production knows that that is really a costly delay. Other problems included footage being oversaturated and necessitating reshoots. I actually thought it still looked oversaturated in the finished product, but we'll get to that. they shipped in a whole bunch of locusts from England and for the final climactic scenes, and 2,500 locusts actually died at a rate of 100 of them a day. And the original film editor, John Merritt, actually quit during the production. He was replaced by Tom Priestley, and stars Kitty Wynn and Louis Fletcher, both suffering from gallbladder infections. And lastly, I'll say the reception of the film. This story might be a little bit legendary and probably has grown as a tall tale over time, but they had a screening of this in New York City with executives watching. The reception of the film was so poor, the audience chased the executives out of the building and down the street because they were so angry at the film they watched. So I will leave you with that. I will leave you with that.
That is
all right,
then.
Let's go around the room here. Who would like to begin?
Sam.
Well, okay. So let me first start by saying that, I think it's very important to be constructive of movies and to keep an open mind and to be kind-hearted when you like or dislike a film and to not disrespect other people's opinions. But I must say, I have been waiting to attack this film on this podcast, and I think I can honestly say this is not even an over-the-top, over-dramatic statement, but I can honestly say this is one of the worst motion pictures I've ever seen, ever. A surreal, nightmaric mess. And I thought something was off right from the beginning because there's this opening scene where this woman who's possessed, she catches fire. But there was something, her scream or the sound of her screaming was not scary. I found it irritating and obnoxious. There's a whole lot that I can go into about why I dislike this film, but I'll say one of the major underlying thematic elements that I didn't like is this movie seemed obsessed with trying to world build, and it was very plot focused. It was very, here's what's happening here, here's what's happening here, here's where things went wrong in Africa. And what it forgot to do was deliver these fundamental eerie scares that the first one did so well. And it was a very, very busy, very bizarre movie. You know, the first film, as we were saying last week, has this beautiful on-location opening scene in northern Iraq. This film has the worst miniature fake canyon that is a really good model work, but it doesn't fit for this movie. It's supposed to be Africa, but I can't even make heads or tails of this film. There's locusts. There's James Earl Jones dressed like a bug, and then he turns into a human. Ned Beatty shows up for a moment, and I hope he got a nice paycheck because he basically talks in a very.
He must have done somebody a favor.
He
was doing somebody a favor, right?
He was doing somebody a favor. He shows up. He's like, "Hi, I'm a pilot. I'm weird. I'm a character." Then he just flies around, and that's it.
Isn't Irwin in there too?
Is who in it?
What the heck is his name? The basketball player, Irwin.
Oh, I don't know.
Irwin, you mean Magic Johnson? No, I don't think.
No, not Magic.
Julius Erving?
The other thing. No, it's the other player.
I know what you mean. I don't know his name. I'm not sure.
I don't think it's a basketball player.
I don't know, but I don't think he's in the film, but maybe.
Or was it 4 or 5? One of the other.
I'll say one more thing is that what I feel really bad for
it wasn't this one.
It wasn't this one. Okay. The actors I feel bad for the actors in this film because you get the sense that they think, oh, we're in the sequel to The Exorcist. This is going to be big. And I feel like Richard Burton is walking around thinking like he's in a blockbuster and he's really overly trying hard. The whole movie feels.
Richard Burton doesn't remember making this movie. I'm
sure.
Yeah, I completely disagree. Yeah.
I'm sure he doesn't. And I'll let you guys talk. I could go on and on. This film is just, I don't even know how to unpack it. Yeah.
Same.
All right. Ellie, I'd love to hear your thoughts.
Okay.
And Exorcist 2, not the other ones that you jumped ahead to watch.
I know, but but I have to say,
Ellie just loved it so much she had to watch all of them.
Well, are we gonna watch 4 and 5 too?
Who knows? Not for the podcast, but
once you see 4 and 5, you think the second is actually a good movie. Anyway, Yeah, that's what I'm gonna say about that. Yeah, it's not until you watch 4 and 5 that you realize like number 2 wasn't that bad at all. Okay, but here's the thing. When The Exorcist came out back in the 70s, I was young and my mom went to see the film. And when she came back at night and I was sleeping, she said that she saw me levitate from my bed. And she was really scared. She started praying, praying and praying because she thought I'm being possessed. I'm like, what the heck? And Mom, I think you were just really scared out of your mind.
It went home with her, yeah.
So she's like, I don't know, but I swear I saw you levitate. Okay. When I was 15, I saw The Exorcist for the first time. I was scared. Like, can I say shitless?
Go for it.
Oh, I just said it. I was scared shitless. And I saw it with my 2 other cousins, and we slept in the attic. And to get to the attic, you had to like turn on the switch and put your hand around it and then turn on the switch. Well, nobody wanted to go upstairs and we had to go to sleep because we have school the next day. So they pushed me like, you go. And they pushed me all the way to the stairs, and I had to put my hands, and I thought something was going to grab my hand at that moment. Then I saw it again for the 3rd time when I was like, I don't know, after Carlos was born. I got scared. Yeah. I think for me, the number 1 was always the scariest one for me. But then this time around, I saw number 1. It didn't scare me. And then I saw number 2, and I started thinking like, did these people think that mental patients are possessed back in the day? Is that what they thought? Because it seems like everything is the Exorcist movies are surrounded around mental illness people. Like you see these actors like walking around like mentally ill, obviously. And so I'm starting to think like, who when they wrote this, did they think that mental illness it's some sort of possession? Because the way they put it out there like that. Anyway, number 2 didn't scare me at all. I thought I'm just sitting through the movie like, what? Wait, what? And then, as if it wasn't enough, I'm watching Richard Burton go up this between these 2 rocks, right? And it's like to climb up to the top of this. What is a church cave? What was that?
Oh, God, I can't even.
Unclear.
Like I don't know. I started tapping out halfway through, and like, yeah, I just
let me tell
he
you
flew
something,
around
right?
and he fell down and he floated around or something. I don't know.
Listen to this. Listen to this. He goes up that. Whatever, like who does that? Anyway, he's going up, and I'm looking at his shoes. It's got like brownish penny loafers going up, and I tell Carlos like, who goes up a mountain with penny loafers to begin with, right? Okay, and then
I like that. That's the moment that like broke your suspension of disbelief.
Listen, and then he comes. No, not even that. And he comes down from the mountain. And he no longer has penny loafers. Somebody paid attention on set. And then he was switched to actual boots, brown boots. You guys missed that, but I didn't. I was like, because shoes are everything. So I was just like, yo, he was wearing penny loafers to go up. And now he's down. He's wearing the boots. Nah, okay, that's just dumb. Whoever did that made a mistake. It's like, that other series, like, Game of Thrones, where they had like the Starbucks cup in the middle of the shoot, right? It's like, hello, this movie didn't do anything for me. I just sat through it, and I felt like, I don't know what I just watched. I watched a bunch of, and if it wasn't enough, the machines that they used to like.
Oh yeah. We talk about the mental patients and like, the way they treat it. Like, it's like, their idea of like treating like people with mental illnesses, like the production design of that place, it's like, let's put them in glass rooms so everyone can look at them and be like, hey, look, it's a problematic person in there.
It's a glass beehive. I
hated it, man.
I'll wait to talk.
And if it wasn't enough, like what was that about? Okay, did anyone even get possessed in this movie?
That's the thing. It did not deliver on the fundamental premise of terror. It's,
they didn't.
Yeah.
Or,
All right.
or they're trying to get possessed through the machine. Like, hello, that's not gonna. Okay.
Well, maybe
Anyway,
the possession never left. Word.
I want to move on. I want to move
he
on.
gets half a star for me.
I want to move on to B's thoughts.
Do we? Do we want to move on to
Yes,
B's thoughts?
we do.
Yeah. So here's the thing. The first half, I actually didn't think was that bad of a B horror movie if we separate it from The Exorcist. I'm like, as just watching it as a horror movie and as a fan of like cheesy genre, whatever movies of the era, I was like, it's fine. I've seen worse. You know, it wasn't like the worst thing. And then it just got so busy. Like you said, Sam, that's the perfect word for it. It just like there were too many plot lines. It couldn't commit to anything. There was no, like, I was like, it was hard for me to follow the point. And reading back on it and listening to why they were, why they were talking about, oh, it's about good versus evil. And if people are too good and the evil's, it just got too.
Lucky Land Casino, asking people, what's the weirdest place you've gotten lucky?
Lucky? In line at the deli, I guess?
Aha, in my dentist's office. More than once, actually.
Do I have to say?
Yes, you do.
In the car before my kids' PTA meeting.
Really?
Yes.
Excuse me, what's the weirdest place you've gotten lucky?
I never win and tell.
Well, there you have it. You can get lucky anywhere, playing at LuckyLandSlots.com. Play for free right now. Are you feeling lucky? No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18+. Terms and conditions apply. See website for details.
Too weird for me. But the first half, I was like, it's a perfectly fine, cheesy genre B horror movie. It's just a real disappointment up against the fucking Exorcist. And then, and then they just got really, really hard to follow. The effects were terrible. The weird mental patient beehive thing was really bad. I kind of could get into like the whole metaphysical aspect of it. But honestly, by maybe even just the first third, not even halfway through, I was only watching to see like if I could keep up with how drunk Richard Burton was getting, because I was like, if I'm going to watch this, I'm going to get slammered. And Richard Burton had the same thought for months. He was like, I'm also going to get slammered if I have to be in this movie. So that's I don't think I could keep up with Richard Burton, but God, it was fun to watch him just descend into drunkenness.
I would say, and one quick side comment is, I'm a huge fan of the director John Boorman. Like, he's made some brilliant movies, and I see none of his signature style in this. None of it, to the point where I saw none of his technique. And I don't know what he was thinking with this movie. And like, if I ever met him very politely one day, I'd be like, what was up? Tell me your motivation.
I think it was said that the writer did so many rewrites that it ended up almost being directed by him more than Boorman, which is alarming in and of itself. Mm-hmm. But also, the effects were so bad. I've never been so disappointed to see James Earl Jones and what they put him through. That was horrendous.
What a year for James Earl Jones. He does Star Wars and this.
Oh God. Can we just quickly talk about, and I understand Linda Blair was very young when they filmed the first Exorcist. She's very young here. But her, she refused to get into makeup again for this film, which fine. But then there was a choice to just refilm like the ending of the original Exorcist with a different actress, and it just was weird and totally took me out.
Cheaped out on so much of it. Like, they did not put the same effort
so
into recreating the makeup effects, and they actually got Max von Sydow back as well, and they didn't even put the same effort into his makeup as well.
There was only one shot.
Like, why wouldn't they just intercut the old movie into this one?
I had one scare. There's one scare in this movie, one shot, and it was at the very end when she's walking up to the room where the exorcism took place, and she opens the door, and from her POV you see the door creaking open, and for a second you see like the demonic possessed like exorcist face, and I was like, ooh, I had a shudder. That was it. Nothing else.
No, Sam. So, no, that wasn't. No.
I will say, oh man, I find this to be a fascinating disaster. This film. Yes. There are crimes against filmmaking that I think are laughable here. The acting is uneven. I think that's stating it kindly. I think Linda Blair is doing the best she can considering what she's given to work with here. Louise Fletcher, who just a year prior wins Best Actress as Nurse Ratched in One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest.
Oh my God, that's right.
I think she's good in this, but it's a very stilted performance.
But they gave her nothing.
They gave her nothing. Richard Burton delivers the most one-note performance of all of them. Mike, I mean, like, I thank God they had not invented smell-o-vision yet, because this movie would reek of scotch. It's I don't know what he's doing in this. I think we've hammered that home already, but there are many things I want to point out as we discuss this film that I just don't work. But I do want to say all this with a caveat, because as many things that I think are terrible about this film, I think the things that are so bad about this actually kind of make this kind of watchable too. I never was bored watching this. I watched this. I sent you guys a photo while I was watching this, kind of like, but at the same time was like, what the hell's going on? But keep it coming, because this is a riot. It's
like a fun 80s cheesy bad horror movie. It just is unfortunately tied to the original Exorcist.
That's exactly where I'm going with this, because what hurts this film is the reputation that it comes as a sequel to one of the greatest movies ever made. If this was a standalone film that had no connection to the original Exorcist, and it could be judged as a psychological horror thriller B movie, I think it's somewhat serviceable. It's not good. It's not great. It's not very good at all, but it's no worse than other schlock that was put out in the 70s. I've seen movies like this before that, I mean, it probably would have just fallen under the radar and been completely forgotten about. This is remembered because of its connection to The Exorcist, but it is no worse than probably 100 other movies I've seen during this era. But the last thing I want to say, yeah, go ahead.
Oh, to your point, a lot of those schlock that was put out had like one semi-star attached to it that made it a little good. This had a stacked cast
in this,
that it disappointed all the way.
Can we discuss the big fat close-up flying locust that they kept cutting back to, that was just in the middle of the frame? Like that was amazing. Yeah.
Oh, that was not a bee?
It was a locust.
It's a locust, and it was just like,
I thought,
it was supposed to be like, I don't know what they were thinking. Yeah.
The last thing I want to say before yielding to the whole conversation is, I think the biggest problem with this film isn't the pacing. It's not the acting. It's not the terrible special effects or necessarily the story, which I think has its merits, but it's the lack of stakes. I have no sense of anyone being in any danger or peril throughout this entire film. In the first film, Reagan is possessed by a demon, and it's a race against the clock to save her soul, or she's going to die. In this film, I had no sense that Reagan or anyone was in any urgent danger at all. And I think that's the problem with this. Like, there's no, like, if the events didn't take place now, like, was anything going to happen to her? Was she going to get repossessed? In the end, I don't get the sense that Pazuzu was in any rush to do anything.
Yeah,
I also found this movie. Yeah. I also found this movie to be just completely joyless and humorless too. That's the other thing. There was no levity in this. I felt like
I didn't even know what there was, like a plane crash or a plane ripping apart, and I was just like tuned out by that point. I was like, okay, they're coming back to the house, it's falling apart. Like it lost me. I started writing a review about it instead of watching it, because I was like, I've got to detach from this. I'm not engaged. Like,
but I do. Last thing I want to say, I kind of applaud this movie for taking some wicked chances. It is, if nothing else, it's trying something completely different from the original film. It could have been Exorcist II with a completely, it could have been Pazuzu repossessing Reagan again and more priests coming in, and here we go again. But no, it did want to explore and expand the mythology. And I do appreciate what it's trying to do, but does it work? Hell no. But at the end of the day, I am kind of glad that this movie exists. And
it's fascinating. It's a fascinating movie. And I just wanted to say really quick, I could not agree more about the lack of stakes. Like well said there, because there immediacy, and there was nothing. And I mean, I would have been far more interested in something along the lines of she's older now and she wants to, go on a long hike or get away from her family, or she travels somewhere to be alone and starts getting possessed, but there's no one there to help her. And it's like she's sinking in, and it's like there'd be some kind of stakes. This was just like madness and mayhem. And when I was mentioning world building, the plot expands and it expands, and then it goes into subplots and side plots, and it doesn't focus on anything. It's fascinatingly the most surreal, bizarre movie I've ever seen. Absolutely.
Yeah. Can I actually, to your point, can I just read 2 quick things about it?
Yeah.
And I think it sort of like brings the point home that we're talking about. So when asked about the movie, Borman, the director, said, "I saw it as kind of a riposte to the ugliness and darkness of The Exorcist. I wanted to make a film about journeys that were positive, about good, essentially." And Martin Scorsese actually holds up the film, and he says, the picture asks, "Does great goodness bring upon itself great evil?" He insanely compares it to Ingrid Bergman and Mean Streets. But I think that what you're talking about in the lack of states, and what they're talking about with like, oh, we want to hone in on the goodness. The original Exorcist actually did that really well with the love that is between a mother and daughter in the first film. And then the evil that comes in at the end is this great contrast of it, and it, like, you see it slowly tear it apart. So they create those stakes and they create that goodness, and then they destroy it. This wasn't about goodness. This was about Locust and Richard Burton being deeply drunk. There was none of that. None of that.
And I said in the last podcast.
I don't even remember Burton drinking.
Oh no! I mean,
they don't show it.
Not in the movie.
He just
in
was
real life.
He said in a quote that he would be like, he would down 3 bottles of scotch a day. I don't know how a human can do that.
Like, wait, while filming this film?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, he died like maybe 5-7 years after this film.
81, right, or 82. It was like 4 or 5 years.
But he was like just hammered. I mean, that was him. He was like a major alcoholic. But like the quantity that he imbibed, I don't understand.
It was like Andre the Giant.
I don't see how a body could handle that. And over time, it didn't. And sadly, he passed away like 5 years after this movie. I think in his late 50s or something like that. Early 80s, mid 80s. He didn't last much longer. Yeah.
Maybe he was possessed.
He was definitely possessed by Johnny Walker.
So one of the other things that I kind of like got to me is that this movie's climax, they come back to the house from the original movie, which it just irks me, because it's already been made abundantly clear from the first film that Pazuzu doesn't care about geography. So why did the filmmakers... Is
that what we call the devil, Pazuzu?
Well, that's the demon.
That's the demon. I think it's a demon. I think they just wanted an excuse for a set piece to have the house fall apart and have that scene tacked on. Like, that's what it felt like,
But it was such an important, I feel like, part of the first movie, and the point of it that the geography doesn't matter, but the filmmakers had to take the story back to this familiar place, which I thought was just
service.
I guess so. I mean, movies do that all the time, but it was like, I didn't love that.
There was only one thing that this movie absolutely terrified. This movie absolutely terrified away: profit at the box office. So it did not. It did okay, but The Exorcist I was like a box office phenomenon, and this was like, hey.
Yeah, it was also in the 1970s.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, didn't do as well. Exorcist I is like the equivalent of like 400 million today, and like Exorcist II is like 30 million, which is like...
It's because nobody knew about The Exorcist back in the 70s.
No, they did. It was a huge hit. It was a huge hit. Yeah.
Ennio Morricone did the score for this, which I actually think it's not that bad.
That's because Morricone's a genius.
He is, and probably one of the things that I think lifted it a little bit for me. I think it's pretty atmospheric and haunting, and it's very experimental, unsettling. So I thought that kind of was one of the better qualities of this film.
It's nice of you to find something nice to say. Well done, you.
Yeah. I thought the sound design in this was pretty cool. Did anyone like the synchronizer moments of this, with the pulsating sound? Like,
No.
Mhm.
Well, no. No. Lower your tone. Lower your tone.
No.
Lower your tone, Ellie.
No.
Yeah, that was that. They were trying to. I liked how
No.
they were trying to make that like an atmospheric experience. I'm like, they're just,
Science-y.
it's like they're flashing lights at her face and like just sitting there, and I'm like, oh, we're in the
With a
beehive
bunch
again.
of
rather
tuna fish
But
cans.
again-
They're doing that with a bunch of tuna fish cans. That machine is made out of tuna fich cans. I'm convinced.
But
I'm
again,
sure, yeah.
something I'm totally fine with in any late 70s, early 80s schlocky horror movie.
I didn't mind the lo-fi
Oh,
quality
guys.
of it. Yeah, I mean,
I didn't mind it at first, and I thought, ooh, this is going to develop into something. And then it's like, oh, there's a fire in the basement. Let's
Is
go
this
walk
a
out. You know, it's
movie
like,
that- is this a movie that Elvira portrayed in her show?
I don't know.
I don't.
I'm not sure.
I don't know, but that's
because
a
she
great
would-
question.
But
'Cause
while
you-
that was happening, that first synchronizer scene when they're like facing each other, yeah, it was cheesy, but I was kind of tense.
I was
and
into it.
I was waiting for something to happen.
I was
nothing
hopeful. Yeah, I still felt hopeful. I was like, oh, this is not bad. Like, yeah.
Sam's like, I was so much younger in the beginning of this movie.
Yeah, I was like, but put it this way: at the beginning of this movie, I look like myself. By the end of this movie, I look like a sad 12-year-old bloodhound. Like, "Roar, that was disappointing. I might be jumping the gun here, but should we discuss who Mark Wahlberg could play in this motion
Just
picture?
We are
gonna say
jumping
that.
the gun, but we have to
I
do
can
this
jump
first.
back from the gun. We don't have to do this now, but I just thought
Reload,
about that. Yeah.
reload. Here we go.
Something in this field could be releasing the chemical into the air when there's too many of us together. Don't eyeball me, boy. I see your mother driving up and down the street looking at me. I'll be your stepfather by the week.
It's a bad time, Bob.
I'm serious. If I leave now, I'm not coming back.
You ever hear the expression, you got a face only a mother can love?
Let's just stay ahead of the wind.
That is our bumper for Wahlberg on Wahlberg, where we recast somebody from this film with Mark Wahlberg. And there are a couple options in here. There's only one I could think of that I want to recast, but
Me. I would do Louise Fletcher. I would recast her with Mark Wahlberg.
all right.
I just think it would be really fun to have Mark Wahlberg play like the shocked, surprised, kind of tired, like again, exacerbated home caretaker.
Nice.
I just want to see him in that role.
Yeah. All right. Sam.
I would have to say, for me, it would be hands down Richard Burton because of his performance in what's the M. Night Shyamalan film that was just used in that audio? I keep forgetting the name of the film where he's like, guys, the bees.
Yeah.
With the Lucky Land Slots, you can get lucky just about anywhere.
This is your captain speaking. We've got clear runway and the weather's fine, but we're just going to circle up here a while and get lucky. No, nothing like that. It's just these cash prizes add up quick. So I suggest you sit back, keep your tray table upright, and start getting lucky.
Play for free at LuckyLandSlots.com. Are you feeling lucky? No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18+ terms and conditions apply. See website for details.
This is where projects come to life. Our showrooms are designed to inspire with the latest products from top brands, curated in an inviting, hands-on environment, and a team of industry experts to support your project. We'll be there to make sure everything goes as planned, from product selection to delivery coordination. At Ferguson Bath, Kitchen, and Lighting Gallery, your project is our priority.
Schedule your showroom consultation and see more from brands like Monogram at build.com/Ferguson.
Happening.
The Happening. That's it. Duh. And so him as Richard Burton, he'd be like, look, you guys, I'm totally serious. She's still possessed. You think she's not. But let me tell you something. When I put those stickers on my head and when I put that flashlight on her, the spirit is still there. You can call me wrong. Call me again in 2 weeks and you'll thank me for it. We got to stop this now, guys. We got to go find Pazuzu. Like, this is serious. And like him, like just climbing up the cliff in Africa and being like, I need to talk to like King Watiti right now. Guys, I don't have time for this. I got to catch a flight with Ned Beatty in 20 minutes. Either help me or don't help me, but I got a problem here. That's so, yeah, Richard Burton.
I'm going to piggyback on your pick, Sam, because that was also my pick. I think he would just, on a serious note, I think he would just really be a lot better than Richard Burton.
Yeah, he would.
So,
he would. He'd at least have like he'd have nuances and levels. Richard Burton is just like same, scotch. You know.
Yep. Ellie, do you want to play?
I don't have anyone to recast.
Should just leave me out of this game, right?
I'm not happy with this film, so I wasted my precious time. But okay, fine. I gotta learn the good with the bad.
I'll use your time to correct what I said. It was Katie Wynn who I meant. Katie Wynn. I was drunk by the end. That's my excuse. So
who was Katie Wynn?
She was the character who I was thinking of and amalgamated with Louise Fletcher.
Who did she do? Who did she play?
Was she
She was
nanny?
the caregiver. Yeah, the nanny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The nanny.
The one that burns at the end.
Oh God. Yeah, she
Really
was.
also
Spoilers.
They also kind of brought back for fan service.
Yeah.
I still don't
Just
understand.
couldn't get the original cast back.
I still don't understand Ned Beatty's motivation in that scene. What he was trying to do there. He like delivered his lines so strangely, and I was like, what the hell is this?
All right. So I think that closes the book on Exorcist II, The Heretic.
Thank God.
What fun. All right. Let's move on to our recommendation shelf.
Sir,
What?
are either one of these any good?
I don't watch movies.
Well, have you heard anything about either one of them?
I find it's best to stay out of other people's affairs.
You mean you haven't heard anybody say anything about either one of these?
Nope.
Was that Ryan Gosling?
Well, what about these two?
Oh, they suck.
What?
Thank you, Ellie. You know, before I say one thing. I mentioned this right before we get to our recommendations. I wanted to say this before we do. We have a new newsletter called Frame Rate Monthly, and I encourage everyone to sign up for it. It's chock full of information about our podcast, what we're watching, what we'll be discussing in the future. It's got polls and other fun content. So sign up. You can email us on backtotheframerate@gmail.com. You can put in the subject line newsletter, and you'll be able to sign up for our monthly newsletter. So let's get to our recommendation shelf. This week, we are recommending movies. I'm trying to pull up my little agenda here. We are recommending Theological Detective Stories, kind of a little tie-in to our review this week. So, what do we got recommending this week from everyone? Who would like to begin?
Bree.
All right. Jump on
Okay.
board.
Sure. So I wanted to recommend Seven, the 1995 David Fincher classic. Very much a neo-noir, very gritty. It, I think, skirts the line of the genre that we're trying to pull from, but I think it definitely works. It's based on the 7 deadly sins. So not only is our antagonist obsessed with the biblical and the grotesque in this, but the detectives have to put themselves in that mindset and do that research as well. And it is really thrilling to watch them dig into it. Absolutely love it. Everybody should watch it. It's the perfect time of year for it. It's streaming on Hulu. Couldn't be easier. Go see it.
Nice.
Or see it again, because I feel like a lot of people have seen it.
Yeah, I'm guessing a lot of people listening to the show have seen
Yeah,
some.
it
is
holds up
great
on a
film.
rewatch. It was
Yeah.
like my third rewatch, and it holds up.
That's a great
It's
film.
probably been about 10, 12 years since I've seen it. So yeah, good stuff.
David Fincher in the top of his form in that movie, just amazing. Yeah,
100%. Brad Pitt
Yeah.
too.
Oh,
you know,
yeah.
like Green, but like I wouldn't say it's a mature performance, but it's great.
So good. Oh.
All right, Sam, how about you?
So I picked Ron Howard's Angels and Demons, actually, and there's a very specific reason why I like that. So it came out in the summer of 2009. I was in California. There was actually a mild, not an earthquake, but a tremor while I was in the theater, and it lined up with a scene where like there was like darkness or like possession, and the theater shook, and I was like, wow, how about that? That was cool. But the main reason that I like the film a lot, because The Da Vinci Code, the first film based off Dan Brown's first book, I thought was very, very wooden. It was a very extremely faithful adaptation of the book, but it sort of forgot to take cinematic license, so it was very stiff. It was just I feel like they were literally filming the book page by page. With the second film, I feel like Ron Howard loosened up and sort of focused on his natural directorial interests. I mean, all his movies are not created equal, obviously, but I've always been kind of a Ron Howard fan. This film, when I saw it in the theater, I was surprised at the kind of Indiana Jones vibe it had. There's a race against the clock, and Tom Hanks is running all over Rome. It's more engaging, it's more suspenseful, and the set pieces are a lot better, in particular when he's in this basement in the catacombs and he's trying to find a specific clue related to the plot, and someone starts sucking the oxygen out of the room. And so he's trapped down there without air. It's a really good claustrophobic scene. Not a perfect film, but Ewan McGregor is also in it. Just highly, highly entertaining. I just came out of the theater of that film going, that's more like it. And I enjoyed that film. So came out in 2009. If you guys hadn't seen it in a while, give it another spin, and I think you'll be pleasantly surprised.
All right, excellent. It's been a long time since I've seen that one. I think these movies do not. They're just they're standalone films, right? They're not like serialized, right?
No, they're not. They're not serialized. It's like, I mean, Tom Hanks is the Professor Robert Langdon. He's the same character, but he goes on a different adventure each time.
Right. Okay. All right. Good. All right. And I think that's available on VOD. It's not streaming right now, but good. Oh, by the way, I want to mention that Seven is on Hulu right now. That's where you can catch that. So, Ellie, what are you recommending this week?
I'm recommending Knowing. It's from 2009. Director Alex Proyas, Cinemax Prime Max, and Nicolas Cage is in that film, and I freaking love Cage. Okay, because he makes me.
That's a fun performance from him.
Yeah.
It really makes me really happy, okay? Really happy. So, listen, Knowing it's got, it's what I love about that movie. I'm always intrigued about biblical things, and I've actually read the Bible from beginning to end. Yes, I have. It's intense, but I love Knowing because it sort of draws inspiration from the Bible and catastrophe of what's gonna happen, like the apocalyptic, the sun. It's like we know that one of the biggest dangers for our planet is not other than an asteroid hitting us, but also the flares of the sun coming down, raining on us, could burn the whole planet in an instant. This movie is about that, and it's about how this little girl had this sort of gift to be able to write numbers. So this little girl in 1959, I think, writes all these numbers in one piece of paper, and they're doing a time capsule, and everybody's gonna do something like draw a picture, all the kids, and they're gonna put it in this time capsule, and then like 50 years later they're gonna uncover what it is. And anyhow, this young girl in 1959 predicts all these catastrophes like 911 and other things that are going to happen on Earth. And Cage's job, he's a professor at MIT, and his job is to figure out when the next catastrophe is going to be. And he finds out that it's going to be flares from the sun coming to the Earth and killing everybody except his son and another girl and the children. And these alien-looking people come down and grab the children and then take off to another planet. Yeah. If you like sci-fi movies, biblical movies, yeah, I think you'll enjoy it.
I really liked the ending, and I remember there was a really scary plane crash on the highway earlier. That was a really impressive visual effect. I remember that scene.
And it was filmed here in Massachusetts, so obviously he's on 128 by the Burlington area, because it was supposedly he lived in Lexington. I live next to Lexington, and the thing is, I go through 128 right where the area where the plane plane crashed. And every time I'm stuck in traffic there, I think of this movie. Like, is there a plane coming?
Oh, nuts. Oh, man, I hear that. That's awesome.
Alex Proyas has got to make another movie again that's on this level again. It's been so long.
Yeah.
He was back in the day. He was one of my favorite directors with like Dark City and The Crow, and he did that 2000. He did what Gods of Egypt, which was a disaster. But
I even like iRobot. I know it's a different genre, but iRobot was with Will Smith was like an entertaining. Like I enjoyed it. Yeah.
Yeah, me too.
Sam, you recommended that several months ago. So
Indeed, I did.
Love iRobot. I really love iRobot too.
Yeah, but I really hope that he comes back because this was I think, the last good movie he did.
Yeah.
Anyway, so my pick for Theological Detective Stories, also sort of in this genre, is Doubt from 2008. It's written and directed by John Patrick Shanley, and it's based on his own stage play. This adaptation stars Meryl Streep, Amy Adams, and Philip Seymour Hoffman. I love this film. I love this film so much. It's the mid-'60s, and the events take place at a parochial school in the Bronx. Basically, Meryl Streep is a nun at the school, and she begins to suspect a plot that Father Brendan, played by Philip Seymour Hoffman, has developed an inappropriate and abusive relationship with one of the students. The performances are, I think, the strength of this film. Hoffman and Streep are phenomenal in this.
Oh my God, Viola Davis, come on!
She's the plays the student mother in this pivotal scene. It's probably the movie's best scene too. Streep approaches Davis with a hunch about her suspicions, but Davis's reaction is just gobstopping. The film is just this great commentary on social and religious dynamics at this time period. And yeah, it's kind of a slow burn, but I think it's full of a lot of tension and suspense. I really highly recommend it. And it's on Hoopla and Paramount Plus, and you can rent it on VOD.
I mean, it's such a great film, Nathan, that you don't even feel how slow it is. You know, it's like just so great. Yeah. It's such one of those films that you know is a great film.
Yeah.
I love that movie. Yeah.
So, all right. So let's move on to our last segment tonight, and it's our movie musings. This is where we just can discuss anything that we've been watching, want to see, or anything in the world of movies that we want to throw out there. And who would like to begin? I'm gonna start asking who. I'm just gonna we're just gonna draw straws before the podcast begins.
I see you, B.
Ellie, what have you been watching?
Okay, I actually went to the movies and watched The Creator. I really loved it. It's probably not gonna do as well, but it's a really good movie. It's a really good movie. I also watched on Netflix a movie called Nowhere. It's from Spain. My God, what a great film! It just as a mom, it took me there. Okay, it just, what wouldn't a mom do for her kid? It's just watch it. Put the subtitles in there. Oh my goodness. I'm not even going to say anything else. It's such a well done film. The actress is so great. There's a real baby in the movie, not a doll. Anyway, yeah, like all
real
the films.
babies.
Yeah, real baby. I also saw Dear Child, another foreign film. I think it's from Germany. So Nowhere is from Spain. Dear Child is a series, limited series, and is also on Netflix, and is from Germany. Another great work. It's a story of this man that kidnaps women and has 2 kids, and they all live in. Remember that movie where I think it's called the girl's in the basement with her son?
Room?
Room, yeah. It's kind of like Room, but yeah, it's sort of like that. But
it's a deep cut.
Yeah, but it's different. It's very. The little girl spooks me out. Oh, she just gives me the creeps. She gave me the creeps. She's a very creepy little girl. Anyway, watch if you wanna like into anyway. And then I saw You Were Never Really Here. Joaquin Phoenix is in that film.
Ellie, that was
I've been
my
dying to see
favorite.
that.
That's my favorite movie from that year.
No way.
I love that movie so much.
I had never seen it before, and I just watched
So
it this
good.
weekend.
Joaquin Phoenix, that I saw that when that came out, and I said, "This, I don't know, I can't say enough great things about that movie. It is incredible. That film.
Seriously, it is an incredible. Is it
You were really into abduction and kidnapping that week, this past week, huh?
So that's the pattern. I don't know. But yeah,
Everything okay, Ellie? Blink twice.
No, what's the sign? Is it? Do you know the sign? Is it this? Is it this way?
Oh,
you know what I'm talking about, B?
I know what you're talking about, but I don't remember what the sign is.
If you're in trouble and somebody kidnap you and you're in trouble, you're supposed to, if you're walking on the street, you're supposed to do this, and people are supposed to know that means that you need help. That like that somebody's kidnapped you. Yeah. So yeah. So Joaquin Phoenix is a goat. Anyway, that's what I did.
Oh, great picks. Okay. Sam, I mean, you probably have not been watching movies on Netflix, but you had another adventure this week.
I did. So I'm actually in Rabun County, Georgia right now. And I was just in Peachtree Gardens near Atlanta at the Atlanta Sci-Fi Film Festival. So this weekend I actually saw a ton of short films. My own film was in there. It's called Bad Drones, a short film. Got a great reaction. It was entertaining. The audience was engaged, which I was really happy with. But one short movie I wanted to mention, and I'll mention their Instagram handle. The movie is called Clone, and it's directed by a director named Ryan M. Kennedy. The Instagram is clone_the movie. I was very impressed with this film. I won't say anything about it. I don't want to give anything away, but I will say that it was inspired by the 2014 movie Ex Machina. And the director particularly liked the isolated house in that film. And what I can say that I liked about it so much is the story was great. The acting was great. And it didn't have any of those, we've all seen a lot of short films that are good, but maybe there's a problem with the audio, or there's these kind of little subtle things where you can tell, well, this is good, but it's not quite professional. Not all the time, just sometimes, being honest. This movie was just, I felt like I was watching a fully realized film in the theater. It seemed like a proof of concept for a feature to me, to be quite honest. I thought it was excellent, well acted, very good. So I love that. The festival was a lot of fun. And then I will just be very boring and quickly mention that I saw the finale of season 1 of Ahsoka. I know I already harped on that last week, but I think what I love about it so much is that it is the most inventive and new direction that I've seen in Star Wars since Star Wars returned in 2015. I've never seen anything like Ahsoka before. It gets me excited and invigorated for the potential films to come next. It actually got some mixed reviews. Yeah. And some people didn't like it. I was blown away by it. It hit me so hard. I just can't believe the quality of what I watched. So highly recommend that. And by the way, last but not least, Atlanta Sci-Fi Film Festival was amazing. One of the most well-organized festivals I've ever been at. Incredibly well-coordinated, beautiful theater. They just did an amazing job, and be on the watch for this festival, because I think in the next 5 years, it's going to blow up. In 10 years, I think it's going to be huge. It's big now, but this festival is on the rise, and that was like clear and inevitable to me when I was there. So good times.
Great. Nice. And I just want to also mention, Sam, I have seen your film Bad Drones. It's really, really good. And whenever that does end up someplace where everyone can see it, please promote it here so that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I definitely will. I'm so glad you enjoyed it.
Yeah.
You came to the premiere and we all had that was a blast. Yeah. And we pulled it off in COVID times, with relative safety, but everyone was okay at the moment. So, hey, woo.
Yep. Yay. All right. So I'll mention a couple things that I've seen in the last week. Man, I actually watched a lot, despite things going on in my life, I managed to squeeze in a lot of things because I needed to take my mind off some stuff. I watched Flora and Son, which is the new movie from director John Carney, whose previous films are Once and Sing Street, two films I have a huge appreciation for. John Carney's things are kind of like the healing power of music is kind of his MO. It's about an Irish woman who is raising a rebellious teenage boy, and she begins to fall for an American guitar instructor over YouTube, played by Joseph Gordon-Levitt. Joseph Gordon-Levitt plays it so charming and heartfelt, with an kind of an undertone of someone who's been damaged by past relationships. It was good. What was I? It was so good that I probably could have fallen in love with this character myself. He's really awesome in this. Flora is played by Eve Hewson, who is the daughter of Paul Hewson, aka Bono from the band U2. She is excellent in this. I can't wait to see her in more roles. The music isn't quite on the level as Once. The songs that I think in that are much more transcendental. Nor does the film crackle with the same themes of rebellion and ambition, but it is. As in the movie in Sing Street, but it does have, it is still highly entertaining. And I do wish that John Carney didn't have to wait 7-8 years to come out with a film all the time. It is currently streaming on Apple TV Plus, and I do recommend it.
I'm going to check that out.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
I saw the Continental
I'm watching it now. Oh my God.
From the world of John Wick, which is on Peacock. Well, my review isn't tremendous. And since you haven't seen all of it, Ellie, I won't say too much, but all my concerns of what a streaming show set in a John Wick-averse have come true. It felt like John Wick Light. It feels like, so I don't know. It features Colin Woodall, Michelle Prada, Ben Robson, and Mel Gibson. Each episode is about 80-90 minutes. There's 3 episodes in this really limited series. The show is about how Winston became a high-ranking member of the High Table. It's a very different style of show from the films. It doesn't feature the meticulously crafted fight choreography and those great set pieces that the films are known for. I don't know if they're going to continue the series, but I actually wasn't that impressed with this. It just wasn't my thing. But there are so many needle drops in the show. Their budget for music was probably 90% of the show. More than they should have put more into.
The music is dope.
The music is great, but there's so much. Like every single 4 minutes, there is another popular song from the 70s that comes up. Like it is hammered over your head, and it's the most obvious music choices from the era. And it just, I didn't find it very inventive.
Does it have the action choreography? Does it have
does it have to be inventive though?
It just felt like very by the numbers. Like if they're going to have a show that takes place in 1970 something New York City, it's going to come up with every single song you can think of that would take place that would fit in that era. It was just.
I thought at times I just finished watching number one.
Number one was
episode.
Good.
Yeah.
And there's a good, decent set piece in the third one. I won't say anything more, but it doesn't live up to the movies at all. It's a completely different feel, but whatever.
I also thought for a second I was watching New York in 1800s for some reason.
Yeah. I think the second episode is painful.
Is it?
I thought so, but anyways, the last thing I'll mention is I did go to the theater last week, and I got to see the greatest concert film ever made on the big screen. I'm referring to Jonathan Demme's 1984 film concert doc, Stop Making Sense, featuring the band Talking Heads. Oh, you did see it? I've seen this doc many times, but never on the big screen, and it was such a delight experiencing it this way. I think Demi's overall work is underappreciated. He's mostly known for his early 90s work on Silence of the Lambs in Philadelphia, but he's got so many classics in his library. Married to the Mob, Swing Shift, Something Wild, the Manchurian Candidate remake, which I think is underrated. Would Stop Making Sense, though, you got the feeling that you're truly in an auteur's hands on both sides of the screen. Demi massively films the band in concert. The cinematography immerses us in the performance through both close-ups that convey the energy and raw emotion of the music. On the other side of the lens, David Byrne is in full control of the narrative of what's happening on stage. It's a tour de force performance. If you have a chance to catch it on the big screen while it's still playing, I suggest that you check it out. It was such a good time. And this was last weekend when The Creator was in the theater and Stop Making Sense was in the theater. Like, I got to see Stop Making Sense. Like, I have to. This is a once in a lifetime opportunity, and that pun intended.
Is this a film about a concert?
No, it's just filming a concert.
Yeah.
So you just watch.
So it's like somebody went to a concert and filmed it.
Yeah, but it wasn't just somebody. It was Jonathan Demme, and he fucking crushed it. It's I'll echo everything you said, Nathan. And I just think everybody in that band is on the top of their game, and their traveling band had some performers that went on to do great things. Like I know
the percussionist.
I'm forgetting his I'm forgetting his name right now. But he went on to found Parliament Funkadelic. He's one of the players there. I mean, just that version of Once in a Lifetime is my favorite song ever. So when it came in to the theaters, my friend and I had to go see it. And in Cambridge, in little old Cambridge at the Brattle, there was a dance party. So that was great.
Yeah, my theater was pretty low key. It was like me and like three other people, and arms were folded.
Oh no!
it wasn't. But still, it was a lot of fun. And it wasn't like a huge screen. Like I was at Province Place Mall in one of the theaters in the teens. Sam, you know what I'm talking about.
Oh God, yeah, those are better than the single digit ones.
I know
those
what you're talking about.
Worst, yeah.
No, it was single digits. Sorry, single digits.
Oh, so the sound kind of quiet?
No, it was fine.
Yeah.
It was fine. But it was still a great experience. Good. All right. Anyways, so that is what I have been watching. And there's been so much more, but I don't have time to keep going. Because we're going to get out of here because it has been a full show. And that's what we've been watching. And that is it.
Yeehaw.
So let's just mention. So next week we are going out to the theater. We're going to see the new David Gordon Green film, The Exorcist Believer, which is out now. And that'll be kind of a fun opportunity to see something that's new.
Not to be confused with Tremors 2, The Road to Perdition. That's a different film.
Oh my God.
What the heck?
Non sequitur nonsense.
Sam, you will not be with us next week, which we're sorry to hear, but we wish you well, and we'll see you in a couple of weeks where I think we'll be reviewing Exorcist 3. We're going to wrap up our last Exorcist movie for this month. But Ellie, I understand Carlos, your son, is going to join us.
Well,
week,
I'll have to consult with him, but I'm pretty sure he'll.
We're going to try to wrangle him. Do we need to bribe him with anything? You know, I don't know. we have no budget, but you know.
No, man, I just like, grab him by the ear, like my grandma used to do me, and I'd be like, "You're doing it. That's it."
Okay, let's have
I will say that
no private.
I will definitely miss you guys, but as Luke said to Yoda in The Empire Strikes Back, and I'll return, I promise.
I'll be back.
It would be really funny if Luke also just started mouthing the music.
He's like, mic drop.
All right. So that is the show, everyone. We thank you for tuning in this week. Back to the Frame Rate is part of the Western Media Podcast Network. You can email us directly at backtotheframerate@gmail.com. Hit us up on Facebook and Instagram. And hey, I think we're on Threads now too.
Yes, indeed.
Fancy.
We made one post on Threads. I don't know what to do yet.
I'm going to do more posts.
Basically,
moving
it
up in
just
the
says,
world of social media.
basically, it just says, hey, everyone, we're on Threads.
Grassroots.
Yep. You can find past episodes of this show and other podcasts from the Weston Media Podcast Network on our website, and I'll drop the link in the show notes. And of course, the best way of helping us out is to share the episodes on your social media feed. Spread the word. That's it. The show is over. Goodbye.
I want you to know it's over.
Well, bye.
This is where projects come to life. Our showrooms are designed to inspire with the latest products from top brands, curated in an inviting, hands-on environment, and a team of industry experts to support your project. We'll be there to make sure everything goes as planned, from product selection to delivery coordination. At Ferguson Bath, Kitchen, and Lighting Gallery, your project is our priority.
Schedule your showroom consultation and see more from brands like Monogram at build.com/Ferguson.
This is where projects come to life. Our showrooms are designed to inspire with the latest products from top brands, curated in an inviting, hands-on environment, and a team of industry experts to support your project. We'll be there to make sure everything goes as planned, from product selection to delivery coordination. At Ferguson Bath, Kitchen, and Lighting Gallery, your project is our priority.
Schedule your showroom consultation and see more from brands like Monogram at build.com/Ferguson.